All right, welcome to J Sports, Detroit Lions News Podcast on the J Sports YouTube page. I'm your host, Joe Chap. Now, let's talk about this. Za'Darius Smith talked to BET. He was at the BET Awards and he was talking to USA Today. And it's very interesting because, a lot of people had the glimpse. Like, I have a feeling the reason Za'Darius Smith has not signed with Detroit or any other team is the same reason that veterans always hold out until training camp or until the first game. It usually happens to a lot of veterans. We see Von Miller still available. We see a lot of veterans that are still available in the NFL. And a lot of times they hold out for a myriad of reasons. They don't want to, prolong their body to more stress and anguish, especially during OTAs and mini camps. I mean, because let's be honest, if you're a guy like Za'Darius Smith, do you believe that mini camp and OTAs are a great thing for you at an older age? No. You know, it's like was telling people when Aaron Rodgers signed with Pittsburgh. Do you think Aaron Rodgers benefits from coming to OTAs or mini camp? Obviously, mini camp because he's a quarterback, but does he benefit from OTAs at an older age? I mean, it's just the way this thing goes. And when you're older, I mean, there's a lot of people that are older that they wake up in the morning, their hip hurts, their back hurts, everything hurts. So if you're an NFL player, there's no reason to, you know, subject yourself into pain and suffering if the bumps and bruises are going to come in NFL season. You want to try to minimize that to the fullest extent. So I think with Za'Darius Smith, I think he wants to come back to Detroit. And when he spoke to BT, the USA Today, he said this. He said, "Hopefully, I can get back to where I want to be in Detroit." Now, Za'Darius Smith was a hell of a defensive end, and he would definitely match what the Detroit Lions need this coming year, especially with Hutchinson coming back off of pretty traumatic injury. They don't have Aleem McNeil for a majority of the season because he's also coming off an ACL injury. They need guys and they need a defensive end that can help out. And Hutch might not be 90%. He might not be 80%. He might be, he might be fully healthy. But getting Hutch to help would be the biggest thing. Now you're gonna have Tyreek Williams, you're gonna have Mekhi Wingo, you're gonna have DJ Reader in the middle, Roy Lopez. This is a team that has a ton of talent that they can kind of, prolong it. But getting a guy like Za'Darius Smith would be huge. And he wants to come back. And I believe that the Lions want him back, to be honest. I mean, he's a player that could really do wonders. And it's very hard in this league to get a guy who's willing to be the Robin to someone's Batman. Especially when you get to these edge rushers. Usually they want to come in and they want to be the guy. They want to be the guy, but you can't always be the guy. And that's what you see with Za'Darius Smith. So, look, I've been along the belief all along that Za'Darius Smith will be back as a Detroit Lion. Part of the reason you're not seeing him back as much as people wanted him back earlier is because of what I just said earlier in the video. If you're a veteran, there's no reason to rush yourself into OTAs and mini camp. Now, if you're a Detroit Lion, you don't have mini camp this year, but you're going to start training camp a little earlier. So when you are a veteran, you have a proven track record. You've been proven to be a really good teammate. You get afforded the fact that you can come in there and they'll make a deal with you. And I think, obviously the Lions had stuff to figure out with Frank Ragnow, and they probably have contracts that they're trying to, get settled. Alex Anzalone might be one of them. Hutchinson might be one of them. You never know what Brad Holmes has in his repertoire of what he's trying to accomplish before the season starts. Because once the season starts, there's no going back. So you're gonna try to get as much as you can get done between here and training camp. And unfortunately for the Detroit Lions, the training camp starts a lot earlier than it did in years past. So the Detroit Lions have a lot of runway to go. But obviously, Za'Darius Smith would be a very good welcome addition to the Detroit Lions because, like we saw last year, he was a very key part to this team. He was a very key part to the way that this team operated. And even as banged up as they were at the end of the season, Za'Darius Smith kind of gave them a little bit of an edge. And you didn't see because, honestly, the Detroit Lions didn't have much of an edge going late in the season because they were just banged up to all belief. But there's no doubt Za'Darius Smith will be huge for this team coming up, and he's going to be back in Detroit. I have the feeling that he will be back in Detroit. He wants to be back. I'm sure the Lions want him back, and we'll see where it goes. But this is what veterans do. They hold out until training camp, till mini camp, till OTAs are done, and then they make their decision. That's what you're going to see a lot in the next couple months, in the next month or two, especially leading up to training camp in the NFL. But we'll see what happens. We'll see you in the next Detroit Lions video here on JC Sports. I'm Joe Chapp. I'll see you in the next video.